Shadow Puppet Master.
Yes, welcome to Let's Drone Out, the 9th year. Hooray!
Woo! Imaginary flag.
I am your long-running Shadow Puppet Master, Frank. Joining us this week, we also have everyone's favourite Curry Kitten,
Hello.
man with a moustache, Stephen,
Hello! 9 more years!
Jack Buddy Cole,
Huh? Oh, yes.
Jack's Buddy Cole.
Howdy. I was like, Jack? Oh, he's talking about Jack first. And I was like, oh, wait. Yeah. Howdy.
And Jack himself.
Hello.
You made it. Like
Hello.
here. Hooray.
I know. Sorry. If I disappear a lot, you know why.
You
Just
know what?
imagine
What
Jack
crazy-
is your Wi-Fi display, but he's just got one bar right now. This is what percentage we've got of a Jack. But that's better than no Jack, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. So,
Are we
everyone in the
Flying
chat,
this week, of all things.
Well, Jack? What'd you say, Jack?
No, go on, Frank.
everyone in the chat, stick in how many years you've been listening.
Yeah.
How many of these 9 years have you been following along?
When was Andy RC last on?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like regularly? Because I think I was listening because I got into his channel and then I came over to Let's Drone Out.
Mm.
So the answer for me is like I had a couple of years of Andy RC, I guess.
Yeah, I think Emacs was still a thing. And was that before or after the Romans killed Jesus? I can't remember.
We were still using Free Sky then.
Everyone was using Free Sky. Another day, another failsafe. These days, it's just like, yeah, I'll just go and rip and like, what's your output power? Like 25 milliwatt. Where are you? 3 fields away behind a brick wall. Okay, fine. No worries.
Don't mind
You know
me, I'm
what?
just updating all of my receivers.
Yeah.
You know
That
what, for
has
me,
slowed down
actually,
recently. Like that was a pain in my side about a year ago, but it's been relatively quiet, blissfully quiet, you might say.
in a strange roundabout way, I've actually been sort of tuned in since like the very beginning because I actually made the theme song
Mm.
for the show. Although I actually wasn't watching that. I don't even think I was flying drones then. But
It's a banger, Cole, I have to say.
yes, that's a 9+ year old beat. So hey, if it still holds up today, I guess I did all right.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
kicking. It's the one bad thing about catching it on YouTube is we don't get that banger intro.
That's right. Yeah.
There's got to be a way for Frank to play it. Yes. How long did it take you to make, Carl?
Probably like half an hour.
Was this just
Lots
bits
and
from
lots of
GarageBand
screens.
dragged into the timeline and go, there you go, and I'll just put this Let's Drone Out sample in it?
So believe it or not, no, it was actually just a random beat that I had made that I think, or it was either a random beat that was made or Jack was like, Cole, I need a intro kind of thing. And I made it in like, half an hour,
I
maybe
think we
40
even
minutes.
have a remix of that somewhere, don't we? With a couple of sound clips chucked into it, like Tony
Yeah.
saying something.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Wait for the singles to come out with a number of interesting B-sides.
Yeah.
I'd love for Cole to do a remix and do a sort of like DJ set with his cats
Yeah.
and like Smoke Machine.
Call out
Get it
different
cut on a
musical
dub plate, build
genres,
a hole
and
in my
Cole has
yard.
to do the theme tune in different ways.
All right. Next year it'll be the for the 10-year. I'll have a jazz intro for
If
us.
anyone's
Yeah,
interested,
I'd
we
like-
could get
I'd
some
like some
Patreon
jazz.
money. We could get a dub plate cut, and Cole could like perform it old school on some decks. If Cole even has decks, does anyone even have decks anymore, or do you just see them in museums behind glass windows? I have no idea.
I mean, I have a skateboard deck.
Yeah, Corey, have you got a vinyl record player?
a vinyl record player?
Yes, only because I bought it as a sort of wife's present because we found all our old vinyl in the loft. And so I was like, would you like to play this? But once the novelty of actually getting a record out and like wiping it off carefully and putting it on and not being able to go to the track you want and shout at Spotify to play what you want, it becomes a bit of a pain in the arse.
Yep.
I have a huge amount of crap here. I've got
Well,
a bit of Wild Hearts. I've got some Iron Maiden, classic British rock. I've got Rolling Stones' Beggar's Banquet. And I've also got the classic Ghost, 7 Inches of Satanic Panic there as well. All good fun.
You know what's funny about the pre-internet Spotify days? Like, we actually used to know the names of the songs we listened to. Now it's like, oh, put on a playlist and oh, yeah, that's a cool song. Oh, I'll never remember the name of that song, but I liked that one that just played. Yeah.
Have you ever searched for FPV playlists in Spotify? It's quite interesting.
Was it just like
It's all like,
There's a lot of
royalty-free kind
I'm
of.
sure.
No, well, it used to be. I mean, it's not 2014 anymore.
For a lot of FPV as it is still 2014, because unfortunately I think dubstep syncs up really well to the quite boom style of FPV, because that's what you've got really. It's like go in here, go in there, swooshy, not doing much, doing a big trick, not doing anything, not doing anything, doing a big trick.
I thought FPV always suited glitch hop in terms of the sort of the movements and the sort of idea of it. Although I have seen some ones. I remember Final Glide Oz going on about his friends did this thing, and he's just flying around a tree, and he had some really sort of chill, almost classical music, and that really worked for it. But I was surprised that a lot of people can't fly unless they're listening to music, which I found a
they
bit of a
literally
weird thing.
can't
'Cause it's
take
like,
off. They're just
I need to listen to my motors just in case the ones go or something. I want to hear that noise. But yeah, I couldn't imagine flying to music. I'd sort of make the music fit it afterwards if I wanted to. But that's where you do loads of cuts and like that fits now.
I've never understood people who like have FPV goggles and insist on having an earpiece. That's one thing I just didn't get. They had like a mono earpiece, and they'd only buy VTXs that had microphones in. Like,
I
guess it helps.
Some people can't fly without it. But
they
if
want to
you
hear
listen,
the quad, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like listening to a quad like you would if it flies past you. It's just like let's put a microphone pretty much next to 4 massive motors and blow a fan on it. That's the noise you've got. It's awful.
It just feels like someone who says, "Yeah, let's go out to a club," and they spend their entire night with their head stuck in the bass bin. It's like you're missing the point a bit there, surely.
Well, if you've ever listened back to like your DVR, your analog DVR, it's not a pleasant sound. It's
not great. No,
it's good for reference and to make sure you're
down to 30% and put some music over it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they get a 2.5 millisecond improvement on their response time to something that it does.
That auditory stimuli.
Yeah, exactly. Like your brain can process it quicker than visual stimuli.
Yeah.
So there's a quicker response.
We should be
time.
cool about it. There's a lot of there's a fair amount of neurodiverse people in the crowd, and if they find it helps them, then it helps them. And that's
exactly.
The only time I've ever used the microphone thing on a quad was at Hidden Valley, where there was 2 camps, and we flew a drone between the camps and would land, and we could hear them, and then we could respond by pulsing the buzzer, like on beep for yes, 2 for no. And then we delivered some biscuits, and that's all I've done. They taped some digestive biscuits to the bottom of the quad, and we flew them back. And I can't remember who I was.
Playing little tunes on the throttle. Does anyone else do this? Like do shaving a haircut? Just like quickly ratchet the throttle up and down to play tunes if you're feeling whimsical about it.
Here we go. Is our 10th anniversary plans then? Is we're gonna have a band purely formed of drone-based physical synth noises.
If you could get
Okay.
people to coordinate, that'd be pretty cool. Like, because you can obviously you can hit notes. You just have to have a certain throttle value as a certain pitch, isn't it? And
We
if you
could
could,
do that on the desk.
could
We
do it.
just have like a bunch of motors and props. Get
Yeah.
some Arduino thing to MIDI it all up, and like every
Yeah,
note
yeah.
is like a different pitch on the.
Curry's
On...
definitely got enough radios
Different
for that.
frequency. Yeah.
You just need a whole load of bungee cords, tie all the drones down, and then you just play the throttles.
I've always been interested in doing stupid stuff, and just instead of multiple radios, I'd always go one radio, multiple quads, and just see what happens. They fly approximately the same. We can
You've got to
find
get multiple notes. You need polyphony,
Oh
right?
my
You
god!
need like multi-quad polyphony to pull off a complex tune, right? So you'd need, unless you're going like Nokia old, you could do like Nokia ringtone, but gotta push yourself. One radio in each hand and maybe one on each toe, and just try and like use 4 throttles at once.
I feel if we really wanted to go proper old school, we'd go pre-flight controller and manually fly a quad with nothing, no gyros, all that rubbish. We'd just have 4 controls that you'd somehow use your feet and hands for, and
Hello, Ferret
vary
boy.
the throttle in each motor and fly that way.
Hey, Ferret boy.
Hey,
Thank you.
yeah.
Why is your subscript still Le Ferret Boy?
Because I am a little ferret.
Little ferret boy.
Because that's what they call him in fucking airsoft. Because he's
I thought
like
it
a
was
charity.
What? Because he's in people's trousers all the time.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
Jack likes to stuff him down his trousers, basically.
Bit of that as well.
Yeah, I thought what happened to Jack's darling wife?
I forgot the show was on. And it's only 9 years, so oh dear. Where are you, Jack? You're not at home,
Yeah,
are you?
He's in
He's
his
in the naughty
secondary
corner.
recording studio.
it just flips my thing. Yeah, I'm on my
He's
I'm on
grounded.
my bed.
He's
Oh,
I
grounded.
just can't.
Luckily,
I
not in the
can't fucking
tertiary recording
sit down.
studio.
Oh, he's sitting on his bed. How is everyone?
Good.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, right.
All good.
Good. Well done to 9 years. Did we get a vote in the end saying give up and stop doing this?
No, couple of death threats, but no vote. No, all clear.
Okay, so we've got to carry on another year. Fine.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you're so close. It's like if you're at 9 years, you got to get to 10.
Might as well, I suppose.
Just
Absolutely.
by pure anger, just like rage all the way to 10.
52
And
And
more
then
of
He
it
these.
keep
wants
going
this.
to 25 and get a silver little anniversary.
Get a wristwatch.
Yeah,
Mm.
that is a question. What does happen at the 10-year? What do we get? Do we get like a little plaque on the wall? Do we get a
Well,
A
I
little
believe it's
pin.
traditional in the corporate world to get a small piece of plastic with your name etched on it.
We can probably manage that.
Yeah.
Someone,
That's our
someone
level.
prints it for us. Cheers.
Jack? You've got
Yeah.
printing skills.
Yeah, friend got me. Your friend designed it. Someone to design it. I'm not that great at.
I should probably have a word
Blender
with
man, aren't you?
I'm going to have to do some CNC soon, Frank.
Yeah?
Yeah. We have a
CNC.
CNC, and I've got it wired up to it speaks GRBL. I don't know. Do you pronounce that gerbil or
Gerbil, I would.
Okay, that's a little bit more Nazi than I was hoping for, but okay. Anyway, I've got it rigged up to a Raspberry Pi and this CNC JS thing that's like a web server that can speak Gerbil and takes in all of your like model files after they've been converted. I think you just convert them to G code and you upload them there. And yeah, I'm not really sure on the optimal way of doing things. I'm kind of blundering through a bit, and yeah, wife wants to create some kind of custom shelving things. She's got a big pegboard next to where she works, and she wants to make like a cup holder that mounts into the pegboard that is the shape where a cup will like slot on it and not slide off. So she wants to do some circular indentations and stuff. Yeah, and we're trying to source lots of spare bits of wood because I'm pretty sure it's going to take. She thinks it's going to work right first time. I've done 3D printing, and I'm pretty sure we're going to need like 6 or 7 attempts before it's
good. Yeah, you kind of build it up. Like you don't go straight for the nice material. Like you get a bit of cardboard, try something on that, and then get a slightly bit of wood and try it on that, and then you get a nice bit of wood.
What's your kind of software stack? What do you use for your CNC stuff?
CNC, I haven't done much in a long while. I think it was called Maker CNC was what I was using. I think it was something like that. There was like a bit of software. There was a free bit of software that was sort of 2.5D type stuff. All for laser cutting, I use what is it called? Light.
Because didn't you have a laser cutter that you were like setting up a while back, or is this been shelved? Did that make it to the new house?
So at the office, there's a big laser cutter that I occasionally play with. What is that software called?
She's probably more familiar with Adobe Illustrator. You can just export as DXF files.
Yeah. She found some. What was it? There's some like. What was it like? There's a 3D modeling thing that was open source that used to be a Google project. I'm trying to remember what the hell it was called. SketchUp.
SketchUp.
Yeah, you can export from SketchUp and do stuff that way.
Yeah. You might as well use Cricut software.
I am not a fan of SketchUp for anything, but yes, Lightburn is what I use for laser cutting.
Yeah, I've got a little Sane Smart CNC. I chucked a Raspberry Pi on the side of it. I ordered one of their own motor controllers, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. You just put a micro SD in, your model, press go, it's great. And then I realized it was interpreting all of the instructions correctly, except, and this is one small oversight, except for the instruction that stopped the motor. When I could literally program a 2-line file with start the motor, stop the motor, and it would not do the stop. I'm like, okay, I'll put a pause in. Maybe it's just too soon. No, it didn't work. And I put the Raspberry Pi on and send the same program to it, and lo and behold, it stops the motor. So, that was not a great builder of faith, but I think we have a solution now. Plus, the Pi has a web interface, which is a bit friendlier.
For a lot of CNC milling, the actual router bit is generally not controlled by the CNC system.
It absolutely is. There's a straight up G command for stopping the motor, and it was
it can be
bloody ignoring it.
in most home CNC type things, you just get a router and you stick it on the gantry and you set it going, and then it starts doing its XYZ. But the actual motor is generally just running all the time, and you don't worry about it.
Hold your peace.
Exactly.
Until
I don't know. There's something about me like,
and it fires across the room.
Yeah. If I'm like going to leave this running for like 12 hours and not be able to stand over it every minute, I'd quite like for when it stopped to stop spinning the little death blade. That was the main thing.
I've never used a CNC for that long. I've never used a CNC machine running overnight, so I don't know. I wouldn't leave it unattended. Wood burns a lot. Sawdust, very, very.
It's going to be in a shed, but even so,
router bits get very hot.
This is going to be an interesting learning experience. Lovely. Speaking of getting very hot and burning, I recently received an Amazon notification that my charger, which I've been using for the last 5 years, was a death trap. Which is nice. I had an HTRC Duo C240, probably reviewed years ago by a lot of people here. And it's been working fine, but I got this Amazon recall notification saying that there's been like 32 reports of things catching fire. So I'm now the proud owner of something that I completely can't remember. It's like a D6 Pro HOTA. I think it's a HOTA one.
Yep.
But yeah. So, word of warning, if anyone has the HTRC C240 Duo, apparently people in the US have deemed it a death trap. Probably because people plugged in batteries the wrong way, because it came with banana plugs, with like 4mm split plugs instead of an XT60. But even so, apparently it's dangerous.
Has anyone seen the new Bardwell quad? Well, I don't think it's Bardwell's, but he done a little video on it. Is it with the 03?
Yeah, I saw that last night, actually. I thought it was quite an
didn't
interesting
see it.
take. Flywoo. Yeah.
It looks very nice. Carbon frame.
Yeah, instead of plastic
Oh,
frame.
the little tiny one.
Yeah.
The first one, surprisingly, the first one to come out with like a naked 03, even though these things are running like 1102 or 1103 motors, they're running like fully cased 03 units, which is like 25 grams of metal. Seems a bit nuts, but apparently Fly was the first one to sell it decased from the factory.
It looks good. It looks like something that might get me back into a bit of flying, but that means buying 03 goggles as well, isn't it?
No, well, you get the V2s,
Bendy.
mate. I've literally been flying this week with a naked 03 on like a little 3.5 inch with the V2s, and you get the best experience with the V2s. They do 120 hertz. The fancy OLED ones max out at 100 FPS, and then you have to. It's this stupid, like, you have to get this giant chart of frame rates. Like Madstech has an entire grid that says you want to run at and you want to record at, and it's basically, if you haven't got the V2s, you've got to record at like 2.7K instead of 4K. Otherwise, you can't get a high frame rate. It's just pain.
Do you need higher frame rates all the time?
That is the
You
real
might as well
question.
capture everything and figure it out later.
I don't know. I mean,
Certainly want to record
Only
at the
if you-
moment, mate, wouldn't you?
well, only if you want to slow stuff down. Otherwise, cinematic stuff, I would still record at 24.
But
Yeah.
So if you record at 24 with the 03, you view at 24. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you fly and then you're only getting 24
Yeah.
frames.
Yeah, and that's why the
That's
newer
big.
goggles screw you around, because you can't record at a traditional cinema frame rate. You've got to record at like a wacky 100 hertz frame rate, which no video format really uses 100 frames a
No.
second. It's like
No.
30, 60,
Well, there's a
120.
couple of films come out at 120 frames, which just look stupid. The Will Smith film, I can't remember, he's on a train or something,
Yeah.
shooting a train, sniper video. I mean, I suppose it's good if you get to a point in a scene and you want to half it or slow it down or whatever. I mean, you can still render at 24.
Anyhow, the simple matter of fact is, if you want to get in the game, the V2 goggles are going to be a lot cheaper than buying the Integras or the goggles 2 as well.
That's interesting.
See, I actually, you always hear about people saying like, oh, you can't fly at 30, you can't fly at 24, yada, yada. But I'm actually curious to see what it is actually like, because
I mean, I've done it.
Everyone says like, oh, the more the better and whatnot, but like, I'm sure it can still be done.
Yeah, of course you can do it. It's just like, I don't know, it's not really political to say these days, but it does feel like you're slightly pissed, right? It's like everyone who's drunk has probably like tried to run up a flight of stairs when they were drunk, and then thought, well, that was a bit
That's
closer
it.
than I'd like to have been. And it's kind of like that when you're flying at 30 frames a second or something, when you could be flying at 120. You can do it, but you need to give yourself a little bit of a gap before you get to something to position yourself.
Yeah. Hey, damn, that's a good deal there. Pretty good deal, it sounds like.
Hey, fail safe.
How much is the drone that Barbwell was advertising? That with the 03?
$315 with the 03.
That's not too bad.
I think was the price he had on screen.
Yeah, and then when you convert it to your guys' money, is your guys, what is the UK
We get
to
screwed,
US?
mate. Like US pays basically no tax.
So about
you
$1
take the
to a
price.
pound.
Yeah. We actually end up paying a bit more than the dollar amount sometimes, which is annoying because we pay more tax. So even though the currency conversion should peg it at about, say 80% of what the dollar value is, we then pay tax on it, and it kind of pushes it over, and
it just makes it either even or you're paying more actually.
Yeah,
you get import and then value added tax, and
at
just
least
makes
for
it
consumer tech stuff, if you just take the dollar sign off and put a pound sign on, that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
do you?
still
What about
looking
if you
forward
order
to
stuff from China? Like, do you still have to?
Yeah.
it's a lottery. Like sometimes you
Yeah.
don't pay tax, and sometimes you do.
Yeah.
I've been getting a lot of
Mostly
stuff
do.
recently where they tend to use like some sort of UK shipping office. So they ship all the stuff from China to this one UK place, and then it go out locally. So it depends where it comes from. But AliExpress do take a tax payment up front, but then you won't pay anything when it gets here.
AliExpress has just been exhausting recently. Like their pricing strategy is insane. I'm sometimes looking at an entire page, 20 different pages, all selling the exact same model number of something, and their prices are all within 10 pence of each other. And you go to checkout, and suddenly one of them costs like £3 more than the other when it was 10 pence difference, because some of them add extra tax and shipping and don't mention it. And then you sometimes get automatic discounts, and they don't. Some of them seem to just not charge you tax, or they charge you tax and then discount you the tax. It's absolute chaos.
It's a bit of a mind.
Great price, but it's exhausting.
I've only bought a few things off Ali, but it seems it's a very weird website, to be honest. It's a very weird website.
It's like mayhem, absolute mayhem.
It is the Wild West out there. Just talking of FPV videos, I saw Cole's mate, Falconrad, lost one of his drones.
I'll watch that.
He did.
In the most amazing way possible, where he's not going to get it back until there's another glaciation and it comes down that mountain. He's literally at the top of the spikiest spike, way up high.
It's crowds or nothing.
Yeah, he's going in for the dive, and it's fine. And then something comes right by him at the right-hand side, so he pulls to the left, but he overcorrects to the left, and then it's just like, no more video. Yeah.
Well, he had
GPS,
the OSD.
He did have the
worst
OSD.
thing.
Yeah.
He had the OSD screen, but it's like it's up so high, inaccessible.
Well, the funny part too is like, well, maybe the sad part is like, yeah, he still had the OSD, so he had to literally just take off the goggles while his quad's still running, and he's like, like that must have felt like shit. And
he had
actually,
GPS though, right? So he's got the coordinates at least.
Yeah, but there's no getting up there, man. That's
we know where it is.
He's upside down. And he can't get back in the air, and
it's got to be like,
thing is,
very high.
The other one he lost, it was only like a couple of 100 meters in front of him, but the forest was so thick. There's just you couldn't get through it. There's just no getting it back when it's like.
I lost like my 5-inch for hours, 4 hours in a tiny patch of forest. It takes so long. Even doing like the spiral out walk where you start from a point and it just takes ages, man. Always record your DVR.
Yeah. By one of those stupid loud beepers.
Yeah. With the Falconrad video though is like, well, we were like, I saw him in the comments saying some stuff like, he's surprised he still had it. He's had that Rad Lion for like, he said like 6-7 years or something like that. Wow. And he's had a lot of close calls, and that was like his original build. And this was the time, I guess. But he was happy about actually. He spun it really well. He was happy because it means that he doesn't have to use his Hero 11 Mini anymore.
Yeah. You got the happy memories as well. Where you got a choice with these things. You can build them and be like, "That's a beautiful build. I'm going to put it on the wall and never use it." Or you can use it in full knowledge that there's like a 5% chance every time you go out and fly it, you're going to lose the thing and never see it again.
That's why I never buy a brand new car, because I'll literally just
Sometimes
never,
you
ever
you
use
just
it.
lose them, Tony.
Just lay under it and look at how clean it is.
Lose them on the glacier of the mountain. Yeah.
It'd be for future generations to find and figure out what it was.
Yeah, I'm
Might
still
have got a
hoping I get
Honda
a.
3,000 feet up on the top of the mountain. Who knows?
I'm still hoping I get a GoPro back. I lost a. I don't know. It must have been Hero 1 or 2 in the drink in the river in Guildford years ago. I'm still waiting for someone to find that and send it to me. Maybe.
Future archaeologists will be like, here we are in the early millennial era. See a number of GoPros recorded.
Yeah. God,
what is this? What is this extremely large flash memory that is?
It's hard to believe this is only 500 gigabytes.
This unusual conglomeration of metal and plastic was believed to have some religious significance.
Right. A totem, possibly, or a fertility symbol.
Has it actually got anything that identifies you, like a name and address, or they just supposed to figure it out from you, like hoovering your room or something, and capturing that?
I don't know. There's just me and someone on there kayaking, so I don't know.
It'll just be like Tony Robinson or someone of his ilk, like dressed in an all-foil space outfit thousands of years in the future, digging that shit up.
I've always wanted to like secretly write Tony is a wiener in one of his quads and then put the PCB over the top of it.
Secretly, I thought pretty much everything you had that written on.
I haven't.
Oh, come on. There's things on the X-Class inside the poles and things. Secret squirrel stuff.
Lose that.
Well, the only time that it's going to be looked at is when Jack's working on it.
But it just makes him chuckle, doesn't it? That's one of my stickers. He doesn't know.
The dog shit bin. There was a pilgrimage. We found it to be of religious significance.
Yeah, they drove there and bowed in front of it.
Yeah.
Curry, speaking of FPV stuff, I saw your video on the funky TX16 with a inbuilt video screen. This is all new and weird and exciting. How's that going?
Well, this comes out tomorrow for normal people. This is the Fatfish F16, which looks a bit like a TX16 or almost exactly like a TX16, and has this. So it's got a screen on it, but it's also got a module that gets the
very unusual, and it's switchable in HTX. Like it's actually got the video switcher built into the radio. Which is
they appear to have made a special thing in HTX for it.
So like maybe a global function to switch between FPV or normal touchscreen to control the radio.
Yeah.
So is it analog then, or is that?
Yeah, hang on, it's here.
The VTX is like in a module bay. It's the craziest thing. I wasn't impressed with it until I saw the video. I'm like, they've really gone to town on this. Like they've got a VTX that fits in a JR bay. It's mad.
Yeah, this is the radio, and looks like this.
Oh, cool.
Which looks like a bit like a TX16, and then there's a module in the back, which is oh god, I've gone all big. Which is the
You think that's like a normal control module? That's the VTX.
Weird. That's the VRX, I suppose you call it. Hang on,
VRX.
I can show you what it looks like. Once they take all the stupid antennas out.
so it's
quite amusing how little press this has got.
Video receiver external. Huh.
They've really gone to town. Like it's not some kludge like in the TBS stuff. Like they straight up put it in a JR Bay module and then integrated a switch in the radio, so the radio can switch the inbuilt like screen that controls the radio from being a touch screen to control the radio to being an FPV monitor. So you just have that on a switch.
It's actually a special function. So that is your regular color screen, which I think is the regular Edge TX touchscreen thing. You can see the module in the back telling what frequency it's on. And if I press this switch, it shows static.
Now it's
which
a TV.
Is not very exciting.
But the thing is, that switch isn't a hardwired switch. That switch is a global function in Edge TX, just like you to control the screen brightness or control the volume. That's the part that I thought was really quite cool.
It's interesting. I haven't found what I'd call a really valid function for it, other than to say, look, I can show my screen. Or my only useful thing was when I throw a plane in the air, I have to take my glasses off, put them on my mouth, find my goggles, put my goggles on, and then wander around in that state back to where I was sitting. So being able to say, I've launched my plane, there it is, RTH, I'll just look at that and I'll just wander back.
I don't
and then
think
do
you're
all
on
the
your own
things.
there. I think there's going to be a lot of people who really like that for planes. If they're flying analog on planes. Well, do they even have to? Because you could have like an HD0 thing that went in there or a walk snail thing that went in there, couldn't you? If the interface is open.
What I presume it has is, although there was no instructions on this, you're supposed to have like, there's a video in here, and I'm assuming what happens when you switch that is one of these pins is literally a composite video.
CVBS.
So we should just be able to plug something in there and do something. Because if I switch it on without the module and switch it to TV, it goes static. So it's literally looking for a signal there, and this is just providing a signal. So yeah, you could plug in any old stuff there.
Because there's a whole bunch of unused pins. If you look at the JR Bay connector, like everyone's a bit pissed because everything uses S port, which is like half duplex on a single pin, but you've got so many pins. And it's just the stupid old standard where we use pins because that's what we were doing 10 years ago. So I guess there's a whole bunch of unused pins.
Presumably, though, that the hardware in here is slightly different because I don't think any other radio has something to say, take that pin and squidge it into this screen.
Yeah. That global function's interesting. That's
an interesting thing. But it looks like what they did is they got HTX to write it into their code, or they did it and put it into the code. But I'm just wondering if anybody else would like, oh, that's interesting. We could do that, and it might catch on a little bit.
I'm just waiting for it to have a retro gaming console glued to the back side of it. And
I was going to plug in the Mega Drive to it, but it's like I can't be asked. Just so I could do this stupid 30 seconds of me playing Sonic through the screen is like that's not worth that.
I'm sure that you must have somewhere that's like a VTX with a component video plug on it where you could just jam it into the back of something.
That might be a better idea. I was thinking of it like some kind of like equivalent of a Switch, like portable gaming device, but it's just like a console with a radio glue.
Well, because the video in on VTXs is just a component video plug, isn't it? You just need to attach the ground and video into like an old RCA jack and chuck it in there.
Yeah. It's just composite yet again. It's a regular composite signal 640 by 480. It would be easy to do, but I just wanted to get that video out because I was loads of other stuff to work on. So I was like, that's done.
Speaking of loads of other stuff,
enough effort.
Richard Warwick of the chat has put a link in there. He's spotted the thing that everyone else has probably spotted, which is that Runcam has stuck their neck out in quite a big way here. Do you want to talk about that, Curry?
Yeah, so I heard about this about 4 months ago, that Runcam got interested in Open IPC. So what they've done, I know they contacted the Open IPC project. I don't exactly know exactly what they've done to work together on it. But what they've done is brought out some Open IPC hardware. And it's this thing here. It's called the Wi-Fi link. And what's interesting about it, I think, is the price they've come up with.
$70.
So $70. There's also this thing called the Wi-Fi Link G. If you look at that, it seems to have some receiving hardware as well. So the Wi-Fi Link G has this this 8812AU module and some sort of OTG, which I'm guessing that is basically say plug this into your Android tablet and you'll get a picture that way, which I thought was interesting. And they also seem to have come up with some sort of app as well for you to use this.
The thing I've noticed, those are all conspicuously 3D renders.
It doesn't appear to be like, well, is it a 3D render or have they just gone into Photoshop and taken bits out?
I think that's well, I don't know. It looks a lot. The fact it's perfectly at 45 degrees kind of makes my spidey sense tingle just a little bit.
Just having a look, see if these wires. I don't know. These wires look a little bit.
The wires look
Okay.
good, but I agree. I think that's
The lighting's completely flat and it's perfectly at 45 degrees.
There is
and
a
it doesn't
shine
seem-
off the cable, though. If you look
Yeah.
at the cable, there's a little hot spot on some of the parts there.
Are you suggesting Runcam's product people don't know how to take a photo without casting shadows and things?
I'm suggesting they're selling something before they've made it to try and speculate on it and see how much money they can.
They are
before
most
they actually
definitely
make it.
taking orders, and Runcam are not new to selling shit things and saying, "Look, buy this, and it'd be really good." And then we'll bring out a proper one 6 months later when we've decided what the bugs are.
Wait for V2.
Yeah, but what's interesting about this is that they're getting it out at a much cheaper price than OpenIPC managed. I think
Really?
OpenIPC have this thing called the Mario all-in-one board, which I think they're selling for like $99, and it goes out of stock instantly.
The pricing on OpenIPC has always been insane. People were saying, "Oh, you can get an entire setup of $50," and then whenever anyone went to buy it, they were like, "Oh yeah, now it's $100."
Yeah, well,
it was all chaos.
It was never quite like that. I think the problem with OpenIPC, it's always been over egged. Let us say too much over promising and under deliverance. But I think the good thing about this is it should cut out me having to do a 1 hour video on like, hello, welcome to Introduction to Linux. Today we're going to be hacking a camera.
This weekend,
and
FTDI.
let's get on with it. Yes, that's true. You won't have to get that. I won't have to create a special tool for how I can clamp down on 2 pins, so I can get into
you wanted
the
to know
bootloader.
but never wanted to learn about U-boot.
Yeah. If it gets rid of that, it could be interesting. I think the thing with like when we were looking at things like OpenHD when it first came along, and then into OpenIPC, it was the case of like we can do this free, cheap and easy, not necessarily easy and not necessarily cheap now. That's the problem. I think like Walks now comes along, and for like under $100 you can get a VTX, although the goggles are expensive. So it's kind of like it's semi-redundant in terms of like, yeah, well, we can get HD systems everywhere, but it is still open source, which people like, and it is still being actively developed, and it does open up more choice for people. And so with these open, I'm going to say open HD in the roundabout terms, including everything, with these open HD type things, you've always got the option of like multiple cameras, for example, mixing up cameras to do thermal imaging and stuff like that if you wanted to. It's like whatever the software developers want to put in the code. So at least it's more flexible that way. So I think more choice,
hardware diversity,
is a good thing. Hardware diversity, always good. Yeah. So fingers crossed, I did talk to Runcam, and they said they're going to send me one, but never say never before it actually arrives. So maybe we'll get one and see what it's like.
Well, and the software, I think it's been getting better and better, but it doesn't feel like the software's really got to that plateau where everyone's comfortable about the features of the software. And it feels like while people are saying it's open, there's still closed source bits of the software that are owned by individual contributors to OpenIPC, like the encoder and the streamer portions. So it's not actually open. It's people have voluntarily donated some code, but the source code isn't freely available, which means they can then exert some kind of influences on it later on, which is a bit
of a hodgepodge. It's kind of like we're an open project, but we've taken bits and pieces from here that have different licensing and terms and stuff, but it all works kind of together.
But it's an open project in some sense, but it's the classic, free as in beer type of thing. I wouldn't say it's an open project. To say it's fundamentally a closed source project making use of freely available hardware, and they let you use it for free, but the code isn't actually free, as in you can't get all of the code and you can't do whatever you want with all of the code. Some of that code is closed down.
Yeah, and this is going to happen more as different hardware vendors get involved. So Runcam's going to write some of their own stuff for their app and stuff, and they're not going to be sharing back what's going on. So it's now Runcam Wi-Fi link, which is based on OpenIPC, but under the terms and conditions, and they can take it and they can modify it and they can close source and carry on as they want. And I do know that they're not the only hardware vendor that's doing something. There should be at least one other one doing something.
Yeah. And it feels like you probably want more of a global consortium on this as well, because it's governed out of a Telegram group, which is predominantly Russian. And it feels like a lot of the developers in the West have kind of shied away from that with some kind of, they're a little bit shy of getting too cozy with that. It would be nice if it was a bit more open, and that they were able to use a more open medium rather than Telegram, for example. So Mario FPV is saying that Divinus is open source and an alternative to Majestic Streamer, which is the closed source blob in there. So
that can get more open. Cool. But I think it's a very interesting idea, and it shows support from a well-known hardware vendor. So it'd be really interesting to see how it performs. Hopefully I'll get my hands on it and see if I can do something. Obviously, my major concern is trying to fit that into something. It's quite it's quite chunky, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that fan. It's mainly the fan,
sunroof.
What's that? A Delta fan or something? That's the type of fan I'm used to seeing in rack mount servers. I mean, that thing's probably able to levitate.
That's it. That is the actual quad. It's just a single motor on that fan, and you can just take off with it.
Well, presumably, if you don't need to push a watt of power, you might be able to do without the fan, right? And especially if you're on a wing, you might be able to poke that thing out the fuselage and get some natural airflow on it without needing a giant fan. You never know.
Problem with wings generally seem to have is the time before launch. The time between power up and launch seems to be higher than a lot of digital VTXs seem to be happy with.
I think there's one good thing about that, and it's like I was actually doing some stuff on OpenHD today because I'm looking at the Okin 2 board, which is the Okin board is what I have in my wing, and on like a wing that's moving, it's fine just to have a heat sink, because that heat sink plus airflow is going to take it away. As soon as we're on the floor, because the one I'm working with is going to act as my ground station, it needs active cooling, and that kind of feels like, okay, well, they've covered the base here, because if you're sat on the floor waiting for a GPS or something like that, or faffing around with your goggles and saying, oh, what's my Android tablet doing, because it's like slightly complicated on these things, then these things will overheat very, very quickly. I had one of those little Wi-Fi boards that I was doing my OpenIPC setup with, and that would get roasting. I literally have like this fan plugged in on top of it, cooling it down.
Surely you can, like, we all know that our phones don't always burn holes in our pockets, so surely you should be able to crank it down to like 10 milliwatts while it's on the ground 2 meters away from you. And when you take
and it would still go very, very hot.
Really? So just the encoder is hot. It's not the power amplifier. It's the actual video encoder that's...
Well, a phone's got a very complicated operating system behind it where it knows what it's doing, whereas these things are all sort of chucked together a bit, I guess.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these, they're really ignoring power savings on the assumption that they will have airflow, because phones, they've got this thing where they race to idle, like they race to standby and race to idle. So unless you're actually touching the screen and moving it, the CPU will just down clock and everything effectively goes on suspend. Whereas it feels like these maybe are using more polling I/O and they're staying on the whole time, because it's just way easier to program a system like that than to race to idle the whole time, like modern phone operating systems do. That's okay. Sorry, sidebar. Moving on.
Moving on. I had another interesting screen to share. Did anybody notice that this sporting thing on called the Olympics was there last week?
No, what's that about?
Well, I was wondering that.
You're not allowed to talk about them. It's heavily copyrighted. You're not allowed to.
Okay.
I saw the French metal band Gojira appear. I think they had an opportunity that was linked to something like that.
I saw the breakdancing and the weird.
Oh, the breakdancing. The finals of the breakdancing.
You've watched
really
the wrong
good,
bit. Actually.
I
was watching something and it was like track and field on. And then I saw these people playing with cars. And I was like, what is that? People are professionally employed to drive these little cars back and forth that go and take the discus and the javelins back, which I thought was utterly fascinating. They're calling them like robotic assistants. I'm calling it like these
robotic
guys.
assistance. That's a Traxxas
great
carrying a discus up and down a field. That's
exactly what it is.
Traxxas.
That's these have been around a while. Look, London 2012.
Look
Rio
at that green guy.
2016.
Looks exactly like something you'd see out of some random video on YouTube for like, let's bash this around a skate park.
And if you looked at the controllers they were using, absolutely bog standard car controller, they were having great fun driving up and down. So that is
great.
actually someone's job, to drive a car back and forth at the Olympics to collect discus and javelins.
What were the 100-meter times? Clive says that they did a 100-meter race on them.
Did they? I missed
Catch
that. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I think reverse that one quite fast would be fun.
They've used them in the football as well, right? Like,
Sorry,
they-
what?
out in between the Olympics, various football tournaments have used RC cars to take the ball out into the middle of the field.
How would you balance a ball? I mean, I understand a discus because it more or less stays put, but trying to balance a football on top of a car sounds like a
I think it had like
recipe for disaster.
I suggest you give it a holder of some sort.
yeah.
Think of a fruit bowl hot glued to the top of the car or something.
Oh yeah, now we're talking. Sounds
Although-
like professional.
It seems with a football, you just kick it. That's easier. I understand why they won't get a javelin and throw it back to the guy that just threw it, because that could be dodgy.
It might catch. Yeah, with a football, there are literally people who are pretty well paid to do the matter of passing the sports ball from one person to another. You'd thought employing an electronic contrivance instead of using the highly trained athletes would be a little bit insulting to everyone involved.
I would like to see these cars used in more sports. In the Tour de France or cycling races in general, I've seen drones being used around certain bits of the time trial. I'd like to see it on a little car. Let's chase the bike on the car, round the thing, and see if we can get under his wheels and knock him off. I think
Anyway, is it
Well, here you are. There's a
Euro 2020?
ludicrous.
With VW sponsoring
I
that?
suppose
or
that,
what?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It comes down to the money, doesn't it? It's always follow the money. I wonder what the emissions were like on that. Terrible. Poison target team.
Until you looked at it, and then
Disclaimer. Sorry. Where were we?
You know, it's interesting for the 9-year anniversary. We didn't do any real trips down memory lane, though, did we?
So we're waiting for that for the 10.
Well, we do that every other show, so I thought maybe we could be forward-looking subjects for once. Just shake it up a wee bit, you
I'm
know.
going to get back in the bath.
All the time.
Wasn't it great when it was all fly-by-wire? What about control line? Who's flown control line recently? Or what about steam-powered gliders?
This is all interesting
hoping-
ideas. Let me write these down.
I'm hoping that the DJI Neo comes out in 5 days because it's rumored to be coming out the 20th.
What are you going
Are
to
you
use
going to get
for?
one?
I'm going
You're
to
going to film
use it.
yourself in the bath with it?
I'm going to use it for filming myself when I'm out on my bike when I'm riding.
Oh, okay.
Things
Has it
like-
got a follow me mode?
Apparently so, yeah. Take off from Palm. I don't know if it's going to work outdoors though. I mean, on days like today, where it was a bit windy.
That would be
today.
the acid test, the type of stuff you do.
Yeah, I'd like it to follow me. Like I'm going to Eastbourne again to watch the Eastbourne Airborne this weekend. I'm riding my bike from my parents' caravan right up over the hills and stuff. So I'd like it to track me, maybe going up past the Long Man and stuff like that. Would be pretty cool views.
Wouldn't it be more interesting, Tony, to ride third person? So you put your goggles on, get on your bike, and then you fly your quad, chase yourself, and you're like, okay, I see where I'm going now. So you can just work it out like you're playing a video game. Easy.
That'd be fine.
That'd be
Be
good.
fine.
I mean, yeah, I'd give it a go. I won't take the dog though for that one, in case in case I crash.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about. Really, I'm sure YouTubers have already had it for 6 weeks, 6 months.
It does
It's
kind
a
of sound.
DJI banned
if
in the US now. What's happened with
I
that?
don't know if they actually got banned. I thought they did, and then someone said it's not gone
So
through.
whole
I
will
don't
they, won't
know.
they?
But I've seen like it's a DJI Mate. It's like literally a complete rip-off of the Mavic 3. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, the different brand though, right?
But it was exactly the same.
Yeah, we need some great British entrepreneurs to jump in there with a DJI. I think they can really just corner the market.
Maybe Dyson
you
should
got
make
your
one, but it'd be about $6,000.
It would suck.
Oh.
Boom, boom.
Sorry.
No, we got Dyson for that.
Yeah, Dyson isn't even Dyson anymore, are they? Really?
I don't know.
Nothing's really anything anymore. Anything that exists for more than like 5 years just sells out and becomes a name and nothing else.
True.
Welcome to
And that is why we bring you today.
Let's Drone Out. Sponsored by
Thunder.
Sticky Jack's Blue
It's always
Emporium.
War Thunder, isn't it? Or Beer 52.
Sticky Jack's Emporium.
Sticky Jack's Glue Emporium brings you glue for antennas, glue for batteries, glue for frames, glue for straps, glue for glue.
Personal lubricant.
Lubricant.
Sexual lubricant.
All right, easy.
Want to get closer with your partner? Try Crazy Jack's Glue for Partners.
Yeah. Where is this going?
Nobody knows,
Right.
Tony. Nobody knows.
4 minutes of bull crap. Come on.
Oh, you know something that we were going to mention, which was related to this T-shirt from 2 years
yes.
ago.
FPV drone
Oh
fest.
yeah.
Yes.
Warzone Coventry on the bank
Are
holiday
they doing it
weekend.
again?
They are doing it again. They're making a
Wow.
thing of it. It is a recurrence. It is an annual event. And kudos to them because we needed it, right? So year after year, FPV Drone Fest keeps kicking them out the park. And this year, they're going to be at Warzone outside of Coventry on the bank holiday weekends, 23rd to
Is that
26th.
nearer?
That is near to everyone because it's in the middle of the country, in the Midlands.
Oh. All right. How much is it costing this time?
A fair and reasonable amount. Well safe. How much does it cost?
Are they
Yeah,
offering
Yeah,
day
but I think it's really
passes?
No,
great
yeah.
that they're continuing and keeping the momentum up because, you know, it's a massive amount of hassle to organize something like this. So I've got
Yeah.
a huge amount of respect for everyone involved to keep the momentum going and keep doing it. It's wonderful to see.
We'll have to get them on and they can talk about it. When is it?
23rd to the 26th of August,
Oh, it's coming up.
bank holiday weekend.
Mm.
I guess Failsafe isn't here because he hasn't chimed up.
Yep.
So,
Weekend
No, Northern
After
Ireland and
this weekend.
Scotland not included.
next week weekend. Put it that way.
Right.
but yeah, it looks like a laugh. They've got basically a whole bunch of buildings that they use for airsoft and paintball and that. So there's all these fake buildings you can scream through and do stunts through, and it's far enough from everywhere that it's safe and camp out there. And they've got, you know, playback in the evenings and stuff, shindigs, bit of socializing after hours. Sounds like a good laugh.
And the following weekend, the 31st of August, 1st of September, is the wing racing event up at Caroline's place, the Wings over Pontefract event.
Cancelled.
They probably cancelled unless people sign up to it. So,
Frank, are you signed up?
Because I am going to be not in the country that weekend.
Cancelled.
Oh, it's Frank's fault. He left.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
We should reach out to the quad racing guys, see what they're doing.
They are arguing about who should be the British champion at the moment. That's how they're deciding. They're not
Oh.
racing, they're just arguing.
Slap
Yeah.
fight.
Traditionally, you'd race for that, and who wins is the champion. But I like the idea of arguing for it instead.
I want to see a third-person slap fight they conduct through FPV goggles. Everyone like straps the quad to their head and just goes and has a big slap fight.
I swear I've seen that at FPV Drone Fest before.
No, that was someone running into a railing trying to find a chair.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think I did about
Musical
5 yards
chairs.
of that contest and then was just like, no, Steven's going to break something. I'm going to stop.
I'll probably
My
puke.
favourite, one of my favourite moments was turn that big fucking music off.
I do not
Oh.
like country and western. I really do not like country and western. And the
Oh, I
Red
do
Bull
love- I
team
love it.
wanting to play loud country and western at 10 in the morning when there wasn't even a coffee stand on site really did not help my demeanour.
I love a
I
bit
may
of
have accused them of doing things to livestock. To be honest, I'd probably stand by that opinion given the nature of the musical choices.
See us out.
Sully.
I think we've done it. We've made it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another year down, everyone.
Woo! Thank God. It's like 1 year
1 year
left.
left.
It's like a prison sentence.
years! 9 more years!
It's like a prison sentence, isn't it? Just one more to go.
No possibility of parole.
No.
Well,
Only 'cause we
you
can't
have
spell
joined
it.
us for our 9th year anniversary this week of Let's Drone Out. I have been Frank. You've been joined by Curry,
Goodbye.
Stephen,
9 more years.
Tony,
Bonjour.
Jack,
Thank you.
and Cole. Thank you to all our
See
patrons
ya.
who have kept us on air and in the podcast feeds with the theme music that Cole composed all those years ago. So
Thank
thank you, patrons.
Thank you.
See us next week and next year on Let's Drone Out. Bye.
Bye.